Jesus explained, "A soul may walk for years toward danger, but one single step toward my heart is enough for me to run toward it." It was then that Saint Faustina understood. The greatest sign that a soul can still be saved is not its strength, but its ability to desire God, even weakly, even late, even in tears. At that moment, the words of Psalm 91 echoed perfectly within her. "For he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler." It is not the soul that frees itself from the snare. It is God who breaks it. He is the one who breaks what binds, who closes what was wounded, who restores what was shattered. The saint saw clearly that the most dangerous snare is not visible sin, but the belief that there is no way back. And right there, before the repentant soul, the divine promise was fulfilled. God's faithfulness became shield, light, refuge, healing. Tonight, before you go to sleep, take 1 minute to silently give God something you've been carrying in your heart. An old guilt, a weakness that feels endless, a fear that has followed you for years. Simply say, "Lord, I return to you." It doesn't matter what happened before. It doesn't matter how long you felt distant. A phrase like this ignites in heaven the very movement Saint Faustina saw, the light that seeks, restores, and saves. What is the one thing you need to surrender today so God can begin his return toward you? If these revelations are touching your heart and helping you understand more deeply how God acts, even when the soul is fragile or distant, write in the comments, "I choose the protection of the Most High." This will be your public act of faith, a small declaration that opens a spiritual space for God to move even more deeply in your life. Subscribe to this channel to continue receiving teachings that strengthen your soul, especially on days when fear, doubt, or exhaustion try to overwhelm your spirit. Here, you do not walk alone, and tonight, before you sleep, whisper, "Under your wings, I rest." This simple practice, united with what we've learned from Saint Faustina and the living promise of Psalm 91, will begin to transform the way you face inner darkness. Remember, God's mercy always moves first. But there was still one last mystery, something Saint Faustina saw about the destiny of souls who choose, even at their limit, to return to the light. In entry 1035, Saint Faustina shared that Jesus allowed her to contemplate a soul that had spent much of life far from faith. Not a cruel person, just someone carrying old wounds, wrong choices, guilt never confessed. The soul had walked so far away that it no longer knew how to return. But then, in a moment of deep loneliness, this person murmured a nearly imperceptible prayer, "My God, if there is still hope, remember me." The saint saw that the moment these words were spoken, heaven opened like a dawn rising behind clouds. It was as if that broken prayer had enough strength to pierce every shadow. Jesus leaned toward her and said, "There is no distance a soul can travel that is greater than my mercy." And Saint Faustina saw what happens to a soul that decides to take that step. Light begins to surround it from behind, from the sides, from the front, as if God were rebuilding a path the person no longer remembered existed. The soul was filled with a gentle warmth, like someone receiving back something that always belonged to them. At that moment, the words of Psalm 91 passed before the saint as if they had been written for that very vision. "For he will deliver you from the snare of the fowler and from the deadly pestilence." The snare of the fowler was no longer just a symbolic image. It was the condition of a soul trapped in fear, guilt, and a sense of unworthiness. But God, in his faithfulness, breaks that snare the moment a soul moves toward him, even by a single thread of hope. Saint Faustina understood that spiritual liberation does not happen when the soul becomes perfect, but when it becomes honest. Psalm 91 reveals exactly this. God does not protect only the strong. He hastens to rescue those who call upon him sincerely, even in weakness. Today, If you feel something heavy inside, a long-standing guilt, quiet remorse, an area of life where returning seems impossible, do this. Place your hand over your heart and say, "Lord, remember me." This simple phrase carries extraordinary power. It breaks invisible snares, opens inner doors, and invites God's light to rebuild what time or wounds have destroyed. Say it 3 times throughout the day. And if all it took were the words, "Lord, remember me," for God to begin restoring everything you thought was lost, would you say them? Now that you've walked through these profound revelations Saint Faustina received about the hidden signs of a soul in danger, something within you has changed. You've understood that spiritual drifting doesn't happen at once. It begins with indifference, restlessness, the loss of sensitivity, the silent belief that God is distant. But you also discovered that God's mercy is faster than any fall, stronger than any shadow, more faithful than any human weakness. You saw that heaven moves at the smallest gesture, the faintest repentance, the slightest longing for God. You saw that angels fight when you cannot fight. You saw that light follows you even through dark valleys. And you understood that the promise of Psalm 91, God delivering, guarding, and covering you with his wings, is alive, active, and available, even when everything seems lost. Now, as you reach the end of this message, allow this truth to settle in your heart. It doesn't matter how your week was, your life, your failures, your doubts, your fears. At this very moment, you are under the shadow of the Most High. God's faithfulness surrounds you, even if you cannot feel it. All of heaven leans toward you, not because you are perfect, but because you are loved. Take a deep breath. Feel this silent, protective, constant presence. It is the same presence Saint Faustina saw illuminating souls who believed they had no hope left. The condition of your soul is not a sealed fate. It is a living path that can be transformed at any moment. And the promise of Psalm 91, this promise that has carried saints, martyrs, and repentant sinners through the centuries, also stands for you. God delivers you. God guards you. God sends his angels to you. God covers you with his wings. The mercy Saint Faustina witnessed does not belong to the past. It is happening now, as your heart opens to the light that has never stopped calling your name. If these revelations from Saint Faustina touched your heart and opened your eyes to the depth of God's mercy, take a step now. 1. Subscribe to this channel and activate notifications to receive more messages that strengthen your faith and illuminate your spiritual journey. 2. Write a comment sharing what part of this message spoke to you. Your testimony may touch someone who desperately needs hope today. Share this video with someone facing fear, guilt, doubt, or spiritual distance. You might be the instrument God uses to rekindle a light that seemed extinguished. And above all, let this truth transform your life. Divine mercy always moves first. The promise of Psalm 91 is not just text, it is a real, living, present refuge. Walk today with this certainty in your heart. No shadow is too great for those who rest under the wings of the Almighty.